Big news here, Islanders. We're looking at the second largest COVID outbreak on a cruise ship since the cruise restart in July. It's big news from the Big Easy as Norwegian Cruise Lines, the Breakaway, returns to New Orleans with 17. That's the current number right now. 17 passengers and crew have tested positive. There's a couple of big stories here that we're looking at. Number one, a South African crew member has tested positive. It is very probable, that's what we've heard from the cruise line, that COVID positive is a Omicron variant positive. We've got eyes on that. Plus, I want to share with you how Norwegian interacted and interjected itself in this situation, what they did to make sure that passengers were kept safe, and what this could mean for the future of cruising in these next 90 days of turbulent times. Let's talk about all the cruise news right now on Island Time. A big happy Monday to all you Islanders. I hope you had a great weekend. We thoroughly enjoyed going live with you last night. We had a blast. The hour that we spent together and shared stories and tips and tricks. All of us talked about when our next cruise is. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And how about this? We celebrated last night as over the weekend, Island Time reached 4,000 subscribers. Quite the feat in just 6 months of being around. Amanda and I thank you so much for this huge feat, 4,000 subscribers, and we hope that there are many more to come. If you're watching this video, you enjoy our content, but you haven't subscribed, I personally invite you now. Be part of that first 5,000 people who subscribe to this channel, and that in the future, so many years ahead, when we have 20 and 40 and 60,000 subscribers, we will always be able to say, you were one of the OGs, you were one of the originals to join us here at Island Time. I invite you to subscribe now. Let's get into this news because currently, Islanders, we're looking at the second largest COVID outbreak on a cruise ship since the cruise restart. We probably remember. Matter of fact, Island Time was there on the July the 24th sailing as the 24th and the week of the 31st, the Carnival Vista had an outbreak of 24 passengers and crew members. That is the largest outbreak so far. This one is 17 so far. And get this, it is with Norwegian Cruise Line, who cruises with 100% vaccinated passengers and crew. Okay, so I want to share, of course, the facts with you. That's what we do here on Island Time. Norwegian cruises with 100% vaccinated passengers and crew. They left November the 28th. They visited Cozumel, Costa Maya, Honduras, and Belize. They came back yesterday. During the trip, there were individuals who experienced COVID symptoms. They were tested. And so far, like I said, 17 have tested positive. Now, cruise lines are ready for COVID cases. They are. We're currently seeing over 100,000 new COVID cases in the United States. And so it's just like we're prepared here on land, we're prepared also at sea. All cruise lines have safety protocols. The CDC has protocols. Local ports have protocols. And so it's not that we're not going to see COVID on cruise ships. We are, and we have. We have not seen it to this extent except for one other time. Okay, the Norwegian Breakaway returned yesterday, and with help from the Louisiana Department of Health, those 17 cases were confirmed. And we also know that 3,200 people, just over 3,200 people, were on the ship. Some of them, through interviews we saw yesterday and this morning, had no clue anything was going on. Some of them were upset about that. Some of them knew what was going on because they had heard, but they were confident in the Norwegian staff to contain the virus. We do know that originally 10 passengers and crew tested positive, and of those 10, the first 10, we were told that all crew members and passengers who are fully vaccinated, who tested positive first, were asymptomatic. The cruise line, Norwegian Cruise Line, shared that in its statement on Sunday, but since then there have been 7 additional passengers who have tested positive, passengers or crew, and we hope they are asymptomatic as well. All passengers and crew returned to New Orleans on December the 5th, yesterday, from their one-week cruise. There's a capacity on the Breakaway of 3,963 guests. So this ship and its capacity was pretty current with what we're seeing across the industry, 75% and above. Passengers who tested positive, and this is a question that we've already seen on Facebook a couple of times, passengers who tested positive were able to leave the ship by themselves. They were able to drive home if that was their mode of transportation, and how they arrived at the port there in New Orleans. So they were released, could drive home if they wanted to, or if they had accommodations to fly, then they were able to stay as part of the port agreements that Norwegian and the Port of New Orleans has in place. There's already blocks of hotel rooms that are blocked out every single week. Norwegian and Carnival, they know if we have an issue in New Orleans, this is the hotel we use. They already know that it's been agreed upon because of those port agreements. So if passengers needed to stay and they were not ready to go home yet, or they were flying, then they were put in hotels, and those hotel rooms were paid for actually by Norwegian Cruise Line. So I wanted to point that out as well. Listen to this. What did Norwegian do when they found out that this was a little bit more of a breakout than maybe what they've seen in previous weeks? It's not uncommon to see 1, 2, 3, a handful of people test positive every single week on a cruise ship. When you get up to 17, what did Norwegian do? Listen to this. All passengers and crew returning to New Orleans yesterday were tested for COVID-19 on their last sea day before they were allowed to get off the ship. Okay, that's pretty neat, and that's something different. It really is something different that we have not seen before, but Norwegian worked with the CDC on what do we need to do here, what's the best practice. They had the technology, the manpower to test all 3,200 guests on board the last sea day. So passengers knew before they got off the ship if they were positive, and that could impact their travel home. Listen to this, I like this. Passengers were also given, each passenger, 3,200 passengers, were given a test to take home and to take in 3 days. Another great move by Norwegian Cruise Line. It's interesting to me because I cruise in 12 days. We're going to be on the Carnival Vista December the 18th cruise. And if there were to be an outbreak such as this, I would feel very comfortable taking a COVID test and everyone around us taking a COVID test. And I would think that it is an awesome gesture for the cruise line to give me and my wife a test to take home with us. That we could take in 3, 4, 5 days if we wanted to. Some people may not ever take it. I thought that was a very nice gesture. It was. What do you think about that? Do you think that was the way to go? And do you think that that should be the standard in the industry? That if we have an outbreak like this, everybody's tested free of charge and tests are given out to take home? Let me know your thoughts on that. I really want to know that in the comment section below. Now, here's why this is really in the story, okay? It's in the news. It's all over, honestly. One of these 17 cases is a South African crew member, and Norwegian Cruise Line is calling it probable, okay? I don't know what's behind it and how they know. They're calling it probable that this crew member has the Omicron variant, which changes the game. Why does it change the game? We just don't know a lot about it yet, okay? Not that we're necessarily scared about it, but we don't know a lot about this variant. So this is the first time it's been introduced, as far as we know, on a cruise ship. And this will provide, the next couple of weeks will provide the whole cruise community some knowledge and data on how to respond to it. And here's a Norwegian Cruise Line spokesman, Jose Cano, on this situation. We worked with the CDC to test everyone on board prior to disembarkation, and they are staying in contact even, he mentions, with the passengers who tested positive even after they leave the ship. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially with Omicron. Can they confirm and can they learn anything from it? You know, the United States CDC and all our health agencies may learn something about Omicron literally from this situation here. So we've got our eyes on it. There are impacts. Norwegian has already announced impacts and changes that they have in some of their policies on board. Norwegian immediately instituted new rules for guests who have opted to board the ship on the December 5th cruise. Right now, the cruise is going. Norwegian says that those passengers who are going to be on the Breakaway for this week's sailing must wear masks while indoors, except for while actively eating or drinking, and will be tested twice during this cruise. Now, they were already tested before they got on the ship. Now they're going to be tested twice while they're on the ship to make sure they are okay. Passengers had to agree to this testing before they got on board. Okay, if you said, I don't want to be tested, nope, I ain't doing it, you're not getting on board. Okay. Guests on the sailing were also offered to the opportunity to cancel if they wanted to reschedule without penalty. So what's interesting here is to see maybe what does this mean for other cruise lines and even the CDC, who has started to take a step back. But does the CDC encourage cruise lines who have an outbreak above, I don't know what the number is, 10, 12, 15, to follow these same protocols? It will be interesting to see if this happens again on Royal Caribbean or Celebrity or Carnival. Do they take the same action plan as was done here to test everybody, to give everyone tests? We'll see what happens with that. At the end of the day, anything can happen. Norwegian, like I mentioned, is 100% vaccinated passenger and crew. It's going to be interesting to see how this impacts the industry. That's the big cruise news. It really is. We're going to keep our eye on it and see how the media treats this. These 17 cases are, probably set to increase, especially as people go home and see if people test positive. We'll keep our eye on that. The CDC, of course, has already announced that an investigation will take place. They're going to try to track all the people who go home, who test positive after they go home. It's going to be interesting. It really is. You know that we'll keep you updated right here on Island Time. If there's news that breaks today, we'll be back. If not, we'll see you tomorrow right here on Island Time.